Hiya, I'm Jasper, and welcome to your video review for Predator. It's a movie starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Apollo Creed, and other people. So, as always, I'm going to be the good, the bad, and the furry. To start off with the furry, well, if you've ever seen any screenshot, picture, or anything of any Predator movie, you probably have an idea of what the Predator looks like. So if you consider that to be furry, and I do, then I would say that there is a rather prominent appearance of furry in this movie. So, moving on. This movie is where that meme where they're like, oh, you son of a bitch, and like two really buff guys like, do like the arm thing. For some reason, I kept thinking that was in a Creed or in a Rocky movie, and nope, it was in this movie. And I don't know why I thought that, because it literally has Arnold Schwarzenegger, which is not Sylvester Stallone. What do I know? Moving on. This movie is about Arnold Schwarzenegger's team is a super badass rescue team. So imagine, if you will, the movie Rambo. Not like Rambo First Blood, but the movie just Rambo. It's kind of like that team, but from the 80s, where like literally all of them are super duper jacked and just ripped all to hell, just like but they are a rescue team, not an assault team or an assassination team or whatever, but they are still also sort of in the military. It's a little weird, because it's like they're in the military, but they are also this super duper elite rescue team that can kind of dictate what they want to do, but also not really, because they're under orders. And I don't know. Apollo Creed plays, an old friend of his, maybe, who's now a CIA dude who's like running the op. And basically, there's the story is that some helicopter went down with some politician on there, and they need to go rescue them from bad guys in the. For some reason, when I was remembering this movie, I always thought that it was like the Cambodian forest or something. But no, based on the language, it has to be some type of Central or South American jungle, which is neat. For me, anyhow. So they go, and it's cool because they do it really well in establishing that these guys are the elite, they are badass, and they don't take no shit, and they can deal with a lot of scary shit, which is a really good way of establishing that when the Predator starts to do Predator things, it really freaks them out, so you get that extra sense of fear. And I would say that this is almost a horror movie in how the Predator operates and how things are shot. It's not shot all at night, but like I would say most of it is not shot during the night, unlike most horror movies. But this movie definitely has the like type of instances, and I think that they do a good job of pumping up the good guys, so that when the Predator starts predatoring, you really get that sense of the power and how outmatched these guys are. What I will say, though, is that it is a bit of a product of its time. Like, some of the fights are a little like, I mean, I guess that's how fast people would be fighting for their lives, sort of. And just the spraying of bullets everywhere, and just some of the action is still it doesn't hold up quite as well. Also, the Predator Vision, which is like a FLIR camera, but from the 80s, it also just, there are some times where I'm like, I have to rewatch this part multiple times in order to try and see what it wants me to see. Like, I can assume based on the audio of what it's trying to show, but from the actual visuals, it's kind of hard to see, and that was a little disappointing. I'm sure during when this movie was made, that was like peak technology of like, oh, check out this FLIR, heat sensor thing, but it doesn't quite hold up. Some of the things just don't. But it's still a good time. It's Arnold being Arnold, and it's fun to see him do some of his commando style things with the mud and everything else. So I would say that if you liked, Commando and True Lies and a lot of the, 80s and 90s Arnold Schwarzenegger action movies, Total Recall and whatnot, I think you will still enjoy this movie, but I would say it's not necessarily one of his best ones, even though it does have some of the very quotable lines like, get to the chopper. And that's, and the you son of a bitch in the handshake. Like, it does have a lot of those instances. And obviously it has spawned an entire franchise of Predator movies. But I do not think that this is the best Predator movie out there. I think that there is at least one other that is better than this one. But this is the one that started it. And I think that overall it was a good job. The shimmer effect of the thing being in the trees, like, I think they did a good job of that. I also would have liked a little bit different pacing. I felt like they could have spaced things out a little bit differently. I felt like they spent a bit too much time in some areas that they could have spent in other areas. But overall, it was still a fun time, and definitely recommend it, especially if you are interested in the Predator movies, or if maybe, I haven't seen Prey yet, but it's in the Predator franchise. So if you saw that and you're like, oh, where does this start? I still do think that this movie is worth a watch. And I love Arnold Schwarzenegger and all of his movies, so I definitely enjoyed the hell out of this one. So, yeah. Also, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert for the very end. Okay, you ready for you spoiled? Okay. I, for some reason, had it in my brain that it was a nuke that went off, not just and maybe it was because of just how big the explosion was from, what they showed from the helicopter, but in my brain it was always a nuke that he ran away from, and that he had started running, way earlier, and the timer had been longer. So when the explosion was small enough that he was able to run away in the last 5-10 seconds, I was like, oh, that's not what I remember. And I'm thinking that maybe it's because I was remembering the Indiana Jones bullshit of the nuke and the fridge and whatnot. But yeah, so this movie was still a fun time. That's really all I have for this one. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you at the next one. Bye.